In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this simple snow effect using HTML5 canvas. So let's get started. Over here in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to type HTML to get my boilerplate all set up. I'm using Live Server, so if I right-click my page, I can open this new document, and let's rename this title to something a bit more exciting, like snow. So first off, let's get our HTML boilerplate set up. So I'll create a canvas, give it a regular old canvas ID, and we're going to be doing some scripting, so I'll create that script block next. So we're going to have two main functions here. We're going to have a draw function and an initialization function. So I'll define those right off the bat. And const draw. And right away we can call that init function, which will kick things off. So and it's not going to do anything too exciting. All it's going to do is use the window.requestAnimationFrame method to call our draw function. And at the end of our draw function, we are going to make that same call yet again. So since draw is calling itself, the browser window is going to try and call this draw function up to 60 times per second, as often as it can depending on the browser performance. Next up, let's jump in to do a little styling to make this less harsh on the eyes. Body, we're going to give a background color, and let's go with midnight blue because that just looks really cool, and margin 0 to get rid of the default margin on the body, and position relative. Our canvas element, we're going to get position absolute, left 0, top 0. So making the canvas absolutely positioned from the body means that we'll be able to place content, images, text, anything you like on top of the canvas and also in front of it so that the snow can be falling behind our content. So now let's jump into what exactly our draw method is going to do. So the first thing we always do is get our canvas element. So we'll use get element by ID, and we just called it canvas. Pretty straightforward. Now the next thing we're going to do is actually dynamically set the width and height of the canvas so that it takes up the whole screen. So canvas.width is going to be window.innerHeight, and canvas.height is going to be window.inner, actually that should be height, mix that up, inner width. Now you could initialize this outside of the draw method, which would actually be better, and use a onResize event to dynamically do it, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to constantly get these values. So even if you resize the window, it'll be what you want it to be. So next up, we grab our canvas context. So canvas.context 2D, and you're going to want to clear what is currently on the canvas, because every time you run the draw method, you want to redraw all of the objects that you have. So canvas.width and canvas.height to make sure we clear the full rectangle that we're seeing. So to start off, we actually want to create some snowflakes that will be moving around our screen. So why don't we declare a Snowflake class that will encapsulate the behavior that we want for the snowflakes. So constraint constructor. We're going to give it an x. Each snowflake will have an x position, a y position, and a radius. So this.x, this.y, this.r is r. And each snowflake will also have an update function. So it will kind of be in control of updating itself. It's updating its position, that is. So now let's go ahead and initialize a bunch of snowflakes. So every time draw is called, we are going to do if math.random is less than, let's say 0.1. It's a bit of a magic number, but math.random will choose a number between 0 and 1, and if it's true, we're going to create a new snowflake to add to our canvas. So first of all, we're going to figure out what the x position of that snowflake is going to be, because we don't want them all just appearing at the same spot. So to do that, we can use math.random again and multiply that by the canvas.width. So this will give us somewhere between 0 and the width of the canvas as the starting x position. Now let's actually create a new snowflake. And I'm actually going to need an array here to keep track of all of our snowflakes. So let's declare that outside here as well. So now that we have the array, we can create a new snowflake. And we'll give it the x position that we calculated. It can start at the top, so the canvas coordinate system goes increasing x along to the right and increasing y as you go down the page. A little counterintuitive, but that's how it is. And let's say we're going to give each snowflake a random radius as well. So math.random times, say, 5 pixels. And we'll see how that looks. So what this will do is each snowflake will be a different size, so it'll appear that some are closer or farther away from you as you're looking at the screen, which is kind of a neat little effect. So now that we're creating snowflakes on each run, we actually want to update the snowflake and push it down the page as we go. So let's iterate over our snowflakes and simply call the update function for each snowflake, and we'll handle that in a second. And the next thing we want to do is actually get rid of any snowflakes that go past the edge of the screen at the bottom. So we're going to go snowflakes.filter, and if the snowflake's y position is less than canvas.height, we want to keep it. Oops, I have too many brackets there. Okay, so let's jump over to the update function. And what do we want this to do? So we want to update the y coordinate of each snowflake, and we're going to use a neat little trick here with the radius. So to get the snowflakes moving at different speeds, I'm actually going to divide. Well, initially I could start with just the radius, but I think this is going to be a little bit too fast based on something I've played around with already, so I'm going to divide by 5. So on every time draw is called, each snowflake will have its radius divided by 5 added to its y position, which will get them to move down the page at different speeds. Now, for the most exciting part, we're actually going to draw some snowflakes onto the screen. So for each of our snowflakes, we're going to do some drawing. So let's start off by fetching the current snowflake that we are working with. let's call context.begin path, because we're going to start drawing the arc here for the circle. Context.arc, and context.arc can be used to draw a circle or some fraction of that circle. So we'll start off with the position of the center, which is going to be snowflake.x, snowflake.y for the x and y coordinates. The size of the circle is going to be snowflake radius. Start angle that we're going to draw is going to be 0, and we want to end at 2 times math.pi. And that will give us our full rotation of the circle. Next up, we're going to do context.fill style equals white. So our circles are going to be filled in with white. And if we call context.fill, it will actually draw that on the screen. So now, if we go ahead and save that, we can inspect and see what's actually going wrong. So apparently I've typed canvas, which does not exist. Should be canvas. And already that's looking a lot better. So you can see we have different size snowflakes. The smaller ones look like they're further in the distance, and they're also falling slower because their radius is smaller. So it kind of has that 3D depth effect.